Welcome back to Voices of Vitality, where we spotlight local experts, inspiring stories, and practical strategies to help you live strong, active, and independent through every stage of life. Today, I am so excited to welcome Casey Dietz, occupational therapist and co-owner of Home Safe Home Michigan. Casey and her team specialize in helping individuals safely age in place through thoughtful home modifications and accessibility solutions designed to improve safety, independence, and quality of life. In today's conversation, we are talking all about aging in place, what it actually means, why it matters, and how small changes inside the home can make a huge difference in helping people stay safe, confident, and independent as they age. Casey and I are going to chat about all things fall prevention, safety, accessibility, as well as how families can proactively prepare for the future before a crisis happens. Casey, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to start Home Safe Home.
So I've been an occupational therapist for about 15 years. And when the pandemic hit in 2020, we kept discharging these young spinal cord injuries to nursing homes where they were alone and couldn't have visitors. And it was only because they couldn't access their home. Like they just couldn't get in the front door and they already had a life-changing accident. And now they're sad and 25 in a nursing home. So my husband's a builder, and during that time I was like, all right, let's do something. Like I can't continue discharging these young patients. So that's where like the idea started, and then it just snowballed of like, wait, people are falling and coming into the hospital for broken hips. Why is everyone falling? What's happening? And so like their whole lives would change, or they'd get these new diagnoses that were life altering. And it's like, well, I live in a tri-level. I can never return home. Like I raised my kids in that home, all these things. So it was just, I felt like one after another, and maybe I was more emotional because it was the pandemic, but I was like, man, we got to change something. So yeah, we joined forces and created Home Safe Home, which is just all accessibility. So you need a single grab bar, you need a ramp, you need a roll and shot, whatever it is. So that's kind of the Home Safe Home idea.
Which is actually so perfect because the majority of my career I've spent doing home health. And so I've been in people's homes for, almost 15 years now. And it's always been this horrendous communication war, right? So like the physical therapist or the occupational therapist is in the home and they're like, you need grab bars, or you need a ramp, and you need to modify this and you need to modify that. And then people are like, okay, great. So now what? And then they're stuck trying to find a contractor. And then there's got to be this communication between the therapist and the contractor. And you guys are like a one-stop shop. Like you take all of the communication out of it.
Totally. And it's fun to be involved in the whole process. Cause yeah, I had the same experience. People would be like, we hired this person, we spent $50,000 and they had no idea what they were doing. They don't know anything about where grab bars go. And it's like, wait, and since we've started Home Safe Home, it's got like, we always hear the horror stories, and it's fun. Cause like I can collaborate with my husband, and he's very like structural, like, okay, you can't actually move that wall. It's supporting the house, where I'm very functional. So I'm like, no, but to access how they're transferring and to access the space, this is how they need to do it. So it's fun when we do our home assessments because, we go in there and I'm like, no, just like take off the roof and move this wall. And
like, I don't understand why you can't do that. It seems so easy. Like functionally they need this. So like you're going to have to deliver, like figure out how to move that wall.
Yeah, just do it. It's fine. Just do that.
Add that support beam into an already existing wall. Like I think that's totally possible.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I have faith that you could do this. So like make it happen. So it's fun because then they'll get the team will get stuck on things, or what do you think about this grab bar? Or we have a patient we're doing a project for right now who has ALS. And so his needs are consistently changing over this big project that we're doing. And it's like, they'll call me back in and be like, okay, now this is how he's transferring. Now this is, and it's kind of fun to like problem solve and try to make people's lives safer and happier for the remaining of their life.
So like you go in and you do the home assessment. Are you doing any like occupational therapy type things with the clients at the time? Like, are you helping with like transfer techniques or anything like that? Or is it just strictly like, here's how you have to modify your home?
The only time I'm really doing a therapy-esque thing is when I'm like, show me how you transfer, like show me how you're getting into the shower. Because there's some people that like have some really creative and interesting, not safe transfer techniques that I'm like, okay, I can try to figure out where a grab bar goes, but until I see you physically get into that shower and like roll sideways into the tub, like I can't
Oh
really
my
make
God.
recommendations. So there's plenty of times where I'm like, okay, or show me how you're getting up these stairs, or show like, can we put a stair chair in? Can we, so I would say my assessment is strictly like, how are you doing these things and how can we make them safer, easier? I always tell people like we all have a finite amount of energy in our day. Like, do you want to spend all of your energy taking a shower at 8 a.m. or do you want to like go see your grandkids play soccer? So like,
Right. I love that.
and
Yeah,
I feel like that changes people's perspective of like, yeah, I don't want to use all of my energy by, lunchtime just doing my
totally.
ADLs. So
Totally.
yeah.
Totally. So as an occupational therapist, you have so many avenues and so many specialties that you can go into. So how did you become interested in like aging in place and or home accessibility?
I think my first love has always been spinal cord injuries. And so through that, it's always been how wide are your doors? How do you get in? You no longer have use of your legs. Like, how are we transferring? So I think that started the whole like, what is your home like? And then similar to what you're saying in the hospital, we're like, yeah, hire somebody to do these things. And they look at you side-eyed, like I have no idea who could be doing that. So I think it's a combination of like my love for neurodiagnoses and I have a strong love for elderly people. So it's kind of just like, let's keep you off the ground because we all know a fall can be so detrimental to people. And let's keep you safe and happy at home.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does aging in place really mean?
I think, it's never too early to start, really. When we built our house, we made it accessible because we thought we might be here forever. And to me, aging in place is just removing any barriers that could prevent you from living in your home. So, people think, oh, a roll-in shower has to be this awful white tile that looks like a hospital with these stainless steel grab bars but really, if you look at like a lot of the European design, it's all like this wet room style where it's like no threshold and you can just go from the toilet to the shower and the whole thing is tiled. And so you can never really start too early. Aging in place makes it sound elderly, but you you're in a triathlon, you break a leg, you still need a roll-in shower at 30,
Yeah,
similar to if you're 80, so like we can always be ready
100%.
for,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I like that you said it doesn't have to be like hospital-y, right? You can
Hmm.
still have an accessible home and have it be like fancy, right?
Hmm.
It doesn't have to
Hmm.
be like an old quote unquote old person
Totally.
aesthetic, right? Also, too, some of us with aging parents, right?
Hmm.
Like thinking about
Hmm.
that as well. Do you want your parents to not live with you, not live
Right.
with you, but you want your parents to be able to like come hang out and stay for a little while?
Totally.
So
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that idea of not waiting until it's too late.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like aging in place is becoming such an important topic right now?
I think the boomer population, as they age, is everything's becoming more apparent, and the holes in the healthcare system are becoming more apparent. I think, the generation that's aging is faster than the generations that are coming up. And so it's very clear, like, people are falling and they're not receiving the care that they need, and there's not enough staff at the hospital. And, so I think there's just a spotlight on the aging population in general. And then you start talking about discharging and these people that are elderly, tend to live in houses that have been around for 80, 100 years too. And I don't know why anyone ever put in a 23-inch door to a bathroom. Like, I can barely walk through that. You know what I mean? So like,
Right. Yes.
these older homes have these very narrow doorways. They have a million steps. The laundry's always in the basement. So I think the elderly population who have lived in their homes since they got married, it's very clear that their homes cannot support where they are in its current state. Like they're not going to be able to live there if they have any sort of device or, need any sort of assistance.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of them too, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like they've been living there for so long that
Hmm.
it's such an emotional decision. Like people aren't wanting to leave these homes that they've lived in for so long. I
Hmm.
mean, I feel like our generation could house hop and we wouldn't care
Hmm.
twice, right? But
Hmm.
like this older generation really wants to just stay in this home where they've
Mhm.
built their lives and they've built their memories, and making these modifications is such a great way to do that.
Mhm.
So when you're in a home, you mentioned a few of them, but what are some of those common safety concerns that you see inside these homes?
Rugs are number one on every list, like
And no one
pick up
wants to pick them up. Like, I
pick up
get
the
that your
throw
feet are
rug.
cold, but like,
Yes,
get a pair of
right.
supportive slippers.
Yes, exactly. Totally. That have backs on them. So you don't trip over those. But yeah, so like, rugs, clutter, people collect things and then they trip over them. Bathrooms are the number one location for falls.
Oh, why is that?
I think a lot of times you get up in the middle of the night, you're half awake, you shuffle into the bathroom, you don't want to turn on all the lights, and it's just a bad combination. You're tired, low lighting. You try to go to the bathroom quick and get back to bed, and that's where a lot of times we see people falling. So
Yeah.
even a simple grab bar, all the time we'll have someone call and be like, "Hey, my mom had a fall in the bathroom. I think she just needs a grab bar by her toilet." And I'm like, "Great, that's fantastic. Like, we can do that." And so then we install the grab bar, and then the mom is like, "Wow, that made life way easier. How about one in the shower?" Like they realize
Right.
that the toilet paper holder now looks like a toilet paper holder, but it's a grab bar because it's in the stud in the wall, but it looks nice. It's like a matte
Yeah.
black style, or like it matches their decor. And they're like, wow, this makes my life easier and isn't ugly. So like, why don't I make my life easier getting in and out of the shower? And the shower is a whole nother thing. You're slippery, you're wet, it's humid in there. There's a lot of things working against you for a fall. So yeah,
Yeah.
bathroom for sure.
Oh yeah, you answered. All right. So what are some early signs that someone's home is no longer supporting their safety or their independence?
I would say if you're using a ton of energy, just getting around your home is a huge
Yeah.
issue. Like, can you move your bedroom to the main floor? Can you move your laundry out of the basement? Like it's,
Hmm.
are you getting fatigued going up 3 flights of stairs to get to your bedroom? Is that reasonable? Is that how you want to spend your energy? So, or they're having frequent falls. A lot of times it's like, well, I keep falling in our 3-season porch. And it's like, okay, let's talk about your 3-season porch. Like, are you going in there in the evening when it's lower lighting? Are you going, a lot of times we improve lighting too. We add can lights. A lot of these older homes lived on lamps,
Oh, the
and
lamps.
so it's
Like, I
like
can't even see myself
dim.
thinking there. Like,
I
it's
know.
so dim.
I know. And so it's like, man, what if we just put in like 2 can lights? And they're like, whoa, it's so bright. I'm like, we'll put a dimmer on it. We can dim it. Like, we'll put a dimmer on it, but like just improving the lighting makes a huge difference to reduce falls as well.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, for
Yeah.
sure. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. So many people wait until after a fall or an injury to make changes to their home, and I see it all the time. It like turns into a crisis, right? Like,
Mhm.
mom or dad is in the hospital, and all the siblings are like freaking out about
Mhm.
how mom and dad are going to get home. Like, we promised them we would never put them in a nursing home. Like, what is going to happen? Why do you feel like it's so important to be proactive?
Well, first, like if they're in the hospital because of a fall, it's like, well, if we were proactive, like maybe the fall wouldn't have happened, is kind of
Mhm.
where I go first. Like, let's prevent, like an ounce of prevention is amazing. That goes a long
Yeah,
way.
for
But
sure.
secondly, when you're in an emergency situation to do a major house project, I can promise it triples, quadruples the price because
Oh,
you're suddenly like desperate to have something done. You might not be getting like the best quality. Like, how are you gonna shop around different quotes, different like, hey, builder A, B, and C, send me examples of this. No, you're like, I need to get my mom home, so I'll hire whoever. And do they really know what they're doing? Like, I got a call just yesterday, and they were like, they had an accessible shower put in, but there's like electrical under the shower and it's sparking, and like the slope wasn't right. And I was like, can I just ask, like, did they pay money, or did like tell me their son, like their son did this, right? Like they didn't
tell me this is
hire,
DIY. Like,
yeah, they
what is
didn't hire
happening?
hire this, right? And they were like, no, unfortunately, they paid a lot of money. And now it's like, okay, so now we're going in and ripping out all of these things that were done so poorly because it was now an emergency versus like, hey, we're looking towards the future. Like, none of us are getting younger. Let's see what we can do. You just have a lot more control of the situation when you're in your own home, moving around, and you're like, I want to shop around. I want to have different quotes, different ideas. Like, you just have a lot more autonomy that way.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like nobody makes a good decision when they're stressed out.
100%.
And like
100%.
if you have a fall, like the hospital's not keeping you because you need someone to
Hmm.
build a ramp.
Yes,
Like
100%.
they're teaching you how to like lift a wheelchair
Yeah.
up the 3 stairs to get in, and they're
Hmm.
telling you to sleep in your recliner until you can
Right.
make it up the stairs. Like
Right.
they're
And
not they're not
heaven forbid there's an emergency and you cannot get out of down those 3 stairs. Like
oh
all
my
the time
gosh.
they're like,
Yeah.
oh, EMS will just carry me into the house on a stretcher. And I'm like, but then what? You have
Right.
dialysis, you have appointments, you have a fire, like
Right.
what?
What
So
happens when your exposed wire underneath the shower lights on fire? Like we're in a lot of
100%.
trouble here.
We're in a lot of trouble. But like you said, like no one thinks through that when they're just
Uh-uh.
desperate to be home. They're
Yeah,
desperate to get better. Like you don't make as rational of decisions. And I just think like the financial aspect and the ability to really think through things just goes out the window in crisis.
for sure. For sure. So you mentioned can lighting as a like a easy modification. That doesn't seem simple to me though. So are there some other like simple small modifications that people could do like even today that would make a huge difference in their safety and in their confidence in their home?
I think even adding more lamps if you're really into lamps, doing more of a cool color light than like a warm light to just
Oh
really
yeah.
brighten it up.
Yeah.
In terms of lighting, rugs obviously are a big thing.
Do you have okay, so for people like, I don't know, I feel like the rug thing is like such a touchy subject.
It is.
Some of these ladies just like do not want their kitchen rugs gone. Do
Uh-huh.
you recommend like a certain type of rug that people can have that is okay, not like totally fall proof, but maybe just like a little bit better than like your runner that has fringes on the end of it with the corners curled up?
Those are so cute, though. Those are so
So
cute.
cute.
How
They're
how do we
adorable.
how do we tell
They've got to
somebody
go
they
though.
can't?
They've
Right.
got to go.
There is like a double-sided tape that you can get to stick to the floor and to stick to the rug. Or there's like it's almost like a rubbery layer that you put under the rug so it doesn't slide. Like
Mm.
you said, none of them are foolproof, or fall proof, either one. But I think it's something to be like, okay, it's staying in place better. It's not
Yeah.
sliding around as much. Also, footwear is a big thing. Like, let's not wear flip-flops around the house when we've fallen 3 times in our flip-flops. Like so
Yeah.
there's just, I think being in somebody's home, you learn a lot about them.
Yeah.
And you, as our eyes, you as a physical therapist, me as an occupational therapist, like we just look at things differently. And I think we can kind of make suggestions once we like see how they're moving through their day of like, how do we make this easier? Like maybe you put a trash can outside of the pantry that you have to walk such a distance every time you throw something away. Maybe you put one near where you're sitting on the recliner, or, like let's reduce the risk of falling if we can.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, being in people's homes, it's like very touchy, right? These are their
Hmm.
things. This is
Hmm.
like the home that they built and they decorated, and like
Hmm.
it can feel a little bit pushy to make
Yeah.
some of these recommendations. So how do you balance the recommendations you make while making, well, one, not offending
Hmm.
people, right?
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
two, making it so they still feel like it's their home.
Hmm. So I always go in and say, like, I want to give you a list A to Z of all the ways that you could live here independently forever. That list is yours, and you can take it, you can shred it, you can ask your son or daughter to help you with the things. Like, so I think I put it more as like, here's something to refer back to in the future. I'm not saying you have to do this or that or any of it, but what I'm saying is, if we want to prevent falls, or if we have a new diagnosis of MS, or something that's
Mhm.
progressive, keep this list, and over time you might refer back to it and be like, oh, that girl, she mentioned improving the lighting, or she mentioned. So like I try to be more like objective of like, here's the list, and your home is beautiful, and like I see why you have it the way you do, but what are the chances that this area that you keep falling in, that you're going to keep falling in it if we don't make some changes, you know? And
Right.
and
Pretty
people
good
usually,
chances.
yeah, people usually don't bring me in until there's an issue. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
there are people like through the senior community that are like, oh, I just want you to come check things out, and like in 5 years I might do something, you know, but a lot of times it's because something has happened. And then they're like, well, I don't want to spend another night in a hospital. And
Mhm.
so give me all the information, you know.
I feel like you guys should be part of like a retirement package, right? So like when the person retires, they should
Hmm.
have this like packet of like, okay, in the next year, you need to make sure you do all of these things and
Yeah.
like you will thrive. And I feel like you
Yeah.
guys should be in that packet like day one
Yeah.
when the retirement pot is still pretty thick.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Call home, save home, and
Also,
have them
exactly.
like revamp your house
Right.
so that you can stay there for
Right.
as long as you want, you know?
Totally. Well, not to mention the cost of assisted living is
Oh
astronomical.
my gosh, it's insane.
I don't understand how anyone can afford that. So it's like, okay, yeah, this bathroom might cost you $12,000, but that's less than 2 months in assisted living,
Less
right?
than.
Like
Less than. Yeah,
less
and
than.
you don't get to pick like what
Yes,
your bathroom is going to look like in assisted living. Like
totally.
you are I have a client right now that is in the tiniest bathroom ever. The walker doesn't even fit into the bathroom. And it's the ground is all tile, like obviously, but from the toilet to the shower, there's this little like ridge.
Is that an ADA bathroom in an
I don't
assisted
there's
living?
like literally no way.
Yeah.
There's literally no way it's ADA.
Well, I wish that like
And
somebody would call us too when they're building these facilities and just be like, "Hey, can you consult on
yeah,
what's actually accessible and what's not?" Like
right.
it's crazy to me the things that pass as like, "Oh, this is an assisted living and this is all rolling." No, it's not rolling. Like,
Right.
yeah,
And assisted living, like you shouldn't have to have an elevated toilet seat. Like the toilets
right.
should be
Just be higher.
elevated.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
it just
even comfort height, just a
right.
high
Less to
toilet.
clean. Less
Yes,
to clean. Like what
totally.
like I feel like I'm squatting like
Yeah,
down to the floor in some of
right,
these toilets. It's
right.
insane.
It's insane.
Um, all right, moving on. We could
But
talk
yeah,
forever about
I'd like
assisted
to be a
living.
part of that packet as well. So if you find out who's, giving the
I think we
retirement
should do it.
packet, okay,
We should
we'll
just do
make one.
it.
Okay,
We'll do
sounds
it
good.
and we'll like send it off to all of the big companies in Grand Rapids. Like, here's how you should help
Yeah,
your people retire. I think it's
yeah,
great. I think it's
yeah,
great.
I do too.
So what are some of the common misconceptions that people have about home modifications or accessibility equipment?
I think the biggest one I hear all the time is like, I don't want it to be ugly. And, even the ramp, like you can have a aluminum modular ramp out front. That's an option. But so is like a custom concrete with pavers that looks like a retaining wall. It's
Hmm.
all about like the aesthetic and what's important. Now, an aluminum ramp is much more cost effective. But if you're not getting a ramp because you think it's ugly, there's so many options. And that's the same with like the roll-in shower, like a barrier-free shower where you just like walk in, there's no step, there's no threshold. There's some really, really beautiful showers that people don't even realize are available. And there's one that we do a lot of, and the backing is completely reinforced. So like in the future, you could add grab bars anywhere. And in
Oh,
normal
that's
showers,
awesome.
yeah, in normal showers you have to find the stud and you can only put grab bars certain lengths and distances. But in these shower panels that are ADA and beautiful, they also have like a backing on them that like in 10 years maybe your husband now needs a grab bar and he's 6'5"
Yeah.
versus, so
Yeah.
it's just like the long-term plan. But I think I hear that all the time is like, I don't want it to be ugly, I don't want my house to look like a hospital, I don't want, which I
Right.
hear, like you said, we
Yeah.
have that generation especially has such a pride of ownership
Hmm.
that I never want to go in and push anything. Like my thing
Right.
is, here's the 25 options if you want to do an accessible shower, and what do you like? What are you thinking? Or do you just need like a small threshold instead of a completely accessible roll-in shower? And
Yeah.
um but you don't want to pay for a shower now that's semi-accessible, and then in 5 years you have to pay for a fully, like I always try to tell
Right. Oh,
people
for
like,
sure. Like double dip in the
yeah,
same project. You don't have to do
totally.
that. And I
Totally.
would also
Yeah.
say, like, I'm no real estate expert, but I would argue that making any of these accessibility modifications only does good things for like the resale value of your house.
Yeah, totally. And even like, okay, maybe the grab bars, you can do some really cool ones that are like the towel hooks that
Yeah.
it looks like a towel hold, like a towel bar, but it's reinforced in the stud. So it's actually a
Yeah.
grab bar and it holds your towel. So a lot of those you wouldn't even know are grab bars. Some of the stainless steel ones, you might remove those and just throw up a quick patch of drywall and your house is ready
Hmm.
to sell. Like, and we've actually been called in. So there's a realtor that does a lot of like helping people move to assisted living, and she'll call and be like, hey, we have to get this house ready to sell, can you come unmake it accessible,
Oh, undo
like,
what you did,
yeah,
what they
undo
did.
all the
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
yeah. And we're normally in and out in 2 hours. Like, it's not
Oh, that's
that
wild.
many things that really are an eyesore or are that egregious that you can't reverse in a short amount of
Yeah.
time.
So do you feel like are there like a lot of options? So like a grab bar is not a grab bar is not a grab bar. Like it's not just,
100%.
it comes in like stainless steel, brushed nickel, or black. Like,
Yeah.
is like the sky the limit?
Sky's the limit. I mean, they have like smaller, skinnier grab bars for like, petite women that don't have like can't grip like a very thick grab bar. So they have different like
Hmm.
diameters of grab bars, different lengths, different styles. Like I mentioned, like ones that hold grab bar or towels and toilet paper, and the sky's the limit, truly. Like if there's something that you're thinking you might want as a grab bar, chances are great that that's
Wow,
available. Yeah.
I love that.
Instead of like, I think everyone automatically is like stainless steel, ugly, hospital, like that's
Right.
the
Yeah,
initial. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How do you guys see that home modifications impact people's caregivers and family members?
I really believe it reduces the burden of care. I think the ability for people to be more independent and safer reduces the risk of falling, reduces how much assistance they need to do things. For example, we just put a ceiling lift into somebody's house that has been in a wheelchair forever. He's a spinal cord injury. Family's been transferring, like dependently picking him up for years. We
Oh
put
my
in
gosh.
this ceiling lift. Yeah, the wife was finally like, it's been 30 years of me lifting this man. I can't do it anymore. So we put in a ceiling lift. This woman basically won the lottery. She was so happy.
Yeah.
She was like, my back feels better, my hips feel better. So just like even that one modification just really improved her quality of life. He could be home alone throughout the day, but she always had to be there for transfers. But now she trusts the caregivers to do the ceiling lift, because before she was like, no, somebody will drop him. But now it's like, no, the lift is picking him up. So
Yeah.
I would just say, reducing caregiver burden and risk of falls is huge for people.
Yeah, for sure. Especially because in like a shower situation, it's really
Mhm.
challenging to pick up a slippery person.
Yes, yes, it is. I don't know how the firefighters seem to do it all the time,
I
but
like I don't either. I don't
yeah.
either. Maybe towels. I don't know. I don't know.
Right. We should ask
So
them.
when adult children are visiting their parents, what do you recommend they should be looking for from like a modification standpoint?
Um, I would just see like where they seem to be having trouble. Like, are they stumbling places? Are they short of breath doing things? Are they exhausted after a shower? So just really like observing what's going on. All the time I get the call that says like, my parents won't listen to me. I need you to be the bad guy and come in and make these recommendations, because like if I say anything, they're mad at me. And so but just like observing those things and then knowing who to call to be like,
Yeah.
I'm happy to come in and explain from like a very objective medical standpoint of like, I get it, but also let's keep you safe, because if you fall and you break your hip, like that's a slippery slope. So I feel like it's easier to have a third party do that than a loved one. But really just understanding, if they are falling, where they're falling and how they're falling.
Yeah. That's great. So how important do you feel it is to have that collaboration between the rehab professional and the home modification specialist?
And I think it's
So I
imperative.
guess the rehab professional and the person making the changes.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think it's imperative. I think even having, so like more and more I think therapists are doing like home evaluations. So then they're at least like they have pictures and they're explaining exactly where they want things, which is better than before when I was just in the hospital. It was very much like you need 3 grab bars, toilet, and 2 in the shower.
Mhm.
So I think just doing a home assessment by any therapist is very imperative, but I also think it's good to, check in on the project or follow up on the project and just be like, did they put the grab bar where I requested it to be? And sometimes it's simply there's no stud there or whatever, but having that conversation and saying, because
Yeah.
like my husband, they're very structural. So that's how they think, is like what's behind these walls, where us as therapists have a very different perspective on like, where are they reaching when they're stepping into the
Yeah.
tub? Are they sitting down? Well, a grab bar super high is not going to improve their transfers if they're sitting, like they have no
Right.
leverage from up there, which a builder would never know that.
Right. So when the job is done or finished, will you go back in there and just make sure that the individual can transfer well, the
Hmm.
caregiver can help? Like, so in that
Hmm.
situation of the ceiling lift, like then you're coming in and you're training
Hmm.
the
Yep.
spouse, like this is how you hook him up to the harness, this is how you use the lift, da 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 da
Hmm.
da. So it's not
Hmm.
just like, here you go,
Yep.
good
Totally.
luck.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
I
No,
love
I'm
that. That's
I'm very
great.
involved. If you asked my husband, I'm probably too involved, but I'm
No such
but
thing.
yeah, no such thing. But I just think, like even the ceiling lift, the wife might understand, but does every caregiver get it? Like let's bring
Yeah.
everyone in and because
Yeah.
otherwise if he's telling the wife and then the wife's telling a caregiver who tells another caregiver who, like let's play not telephone and like get everyone together and say
Right.
like, all right, this is how we do it. This is how you're safe.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm there throughout the whole process.
I love that.
Yeah.
So throughout this whole chat, you have definitely sprinkled in some stories, but do you have one story that like sticks out as you as like the most rewarding thing that you guys have done?
And it might be because we're doing it right now, but this current situation, we're doing a project for a veteran who, for 3 years, his wife has been fighting the VA to get this approved for them to have, because there's all this money and grants and things through the
Hmm.
VA, but you have to do all the hoops to get that money out. So we're her 4th builder, I want to say, in 3 years, that the other 3 were just like, this is too much. We don't have time for this paperwork and these hoops and all these things. So this poor man who's a veteran, wonderful, wonderful man, has ALS, hasn't showered in 3 years. And we just finished his bathroom and he had his first shower in 3 years. And
Oh my God.
I was like, is it weird if I like watch him? Because I'm just so excited. Like, I feel like I need to be cheering for him. Like, can you
Yes.
can you imagine 3 years of not showering and like
Like,
this
was there a
poor
dry
wife?
eye in the house?
No,
Like, I
no,
can't even,
it
I
was
mean, something like
incredible.
that needs to be like, like marketed, televised,
Yeah,
but like maybe not
yeah,
fully televised, but you know what I mean? Like, it needs to be
right.
like shouted from, that is incredible.
Totally, totally. And it's like,
Oh,
why is it so hard to get funding that they deserve, that they've
hmm.
earned by being a veteran? And these 3 other builders were like, we can no longer, we don't have the capacity to keep fighting the VA. And I just talked to this woman on the phone. I remember when she called me, and she's a retired nurse. She retired because he had ALS and she had to be with him 24/7. And she was just like so emotional. And she's like, I just want, before he dies, to have a shower. I just want,
Oh my
before he
gosh.
dies, to be able to go on the back deck, because he can't get to the back deck in his power chair because there's a step down. And I'm like, this is home safe home to me. Like, this is
Right.
exactly why I wanted to do this. Like, all the time people are like, will you just do like a bathroom for us or a basement for us or like construction for, and I'm like, no, like I want all my bandwidth to be like these really like deserving people who just
Yeah.
want to enjoy life in the comfort of their own home. Like,
Yeah.
there's something to be
Oh,
said
that is
about
such a
being
good
home.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Because I'm sure she could take him somewhere
Oh
and
yeah.
get it, but like it
Hmm.
hits way different when it's in your own
Totally,
home.
totally.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I know.
That is
Yeah,
such an incredible story. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. It's been
Um,
great.
so all of these things can probably feel really overwhelming, right? If you're living in a house where you're like looking around and you're like, oh my gosh, I got clutter everywhere. I got throw rugs everywhere. Like this is a train wreck. And I think a lot of times when people are overwhelmed like that, they're like, okay, we're just not going to do anything.
Right.
But
Same.
what would you suggest? Not that I'm speaking from experience or anything. I don't do that. I know how to take the first step. But what would you recommend people do if they're overwhelmed by just the idea of starting? Like, where do I start?
There are a ton of resources in the community. Like, I know Senior Neighbors will help with things, Area Agency on Aging. Like, if you want to reach out to like an outside group, like there's a ton of really great resources in Grand Rapids. I would say maybe getting a referral for a home health PTOT, because any therapist can come in your home and make recommendations. Obviously I'm happy to help anyone who needs the first step. I have opinions, obviously, but like I come in very,
and expertise, opinions and expertise.
Right. But when I walk into somebody's home, I am very mindful of the fact that like, this is overwhelming. No one wants to admit they're getting older. No one wants to admit things are getting harder. So I think just really step one is acknowledging and being like, man, life could be easier, or I want to go to my kids' game every week instead of being so exhausted. So like, what does that look like? How do I even start cleaning out my home and making it more accessible? So I would say there are a ton of great resources, or just reaching out to the community and having I love Buy Nothing. There's a good Buy Nothing group that you could be like, hey, somebody come get this like curio cabinet that has precious like it's in my way and I'm tripping over it, like can somebody come take it? So yeah.
I love that. So now let's say somebody wanted to take this first step and like give you a call, and they're not ready to make any like serious modifications yet, but they just want ideas. Can you come in and do that home safety eval and not make any modifications? And is that home safety eval covered by insurance?
So yeah, 100%. Like that's how usually it starts. Like I'll go in and make all the recommendations and hand them the report and just say, here, do with this what you want, have your handy neighbor put in a grab bar, that's not that difficult. So yes, absolutely. Like I would say the construction side and the OT side are separate until they have to meld. And then sometimes it's covered by insurance. It kind of depends. If you just get a referral for like a home assessment with PTOT, I could come in as an OT if I take your insurance. There's a couple insurances that I work with. So the long answer and the short answer together is it depends. Like we can get things covered by insurance, but it's not like if you just say, like if you call Blue Cross Blue Shield and you're like, or Medicare and you're like, I want a home safety evaluation, they would be like, great, pay for that. Like they're not going to say, oh, that's a HCPCS code, because it doesn't have its own billing code.
Oh, okay.
But if you jumble that into just like an OT evaluation or a PT evaluation, then you can bill insurance.
Okay, great.
So
great. All right. So if those listening took away one message today, what would you want it to be?
I would say that living in a barrier-free home is just it's just a great solution for anyone, and it can be very beautiful. I guess that would be my tagline.
And where can people learn more about Home Safe Home Michigan or connect with you?
Home Safe Home MI is our website. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Home Safe Home MI. Email me, Casey at homesafehome.mi.com. Call us. We're everywhere.
Love it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll put all that like in the show notes too, so that if people want, they can connect with you. So Casey, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise on such an important topic. I love that this conversation reinforces the idea that growing older does not automatically mean losing independence, and that with the right support and environment, people can actually continue to live safely and confidently in the homes that they love. Aging in place is really about so much more than home modifications. It's really about preserving people's dignity, confidence, routine, and quality of life. So again, if you want to learn more about Casey and Home Safe Home Michigan, we'll make sure to get all of our info down in the show notes. And as always, thank you for listening to Voices of Vitality. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or a family member that you think could benefit from this conversation. And remember, living your best life never gets old.